GAINAX. If you're an anime fan, you know that name. It brings to mind some of the most groundbreaking animation, stories that stick with you forever, and, yeah, a little series called Neon Genesis Evangelion. These guys were the ultimate rebels, the innovators who completely changed the game. But their story, well, it's just as epic as any of their shows. It's a story about ambition, creative genius, and a fire that maybe just burned a little too bright. So you gotta wonder, right? How does a studio that literally defined a generation of anime just stop existing? Well, the answer isn't simple. It's this tangled web of fractured friendships, the classic battle of artistic passion versus business, and a legacy that, in the end, kind of collapsed under its own weight. So let's pull on that thread and unravel the incredible rise and tragic fall of GAINAX.
So, where does this all begin? Well, it's not in some fancy corporate boardroom. Nope. Our story starts with a bunch of passionate, sci-fi obsessed university students. These weren't industry insiders. They were fans, just like us, but they had this raw, rebellious energy that was about to shake up the entire anime world. And look at how fast this all happened. It was absolutely explosive. In 1981, this student group, DAICON Film, makes an opening animation for a sci-fi con that just blows everyone away. By '84, they've officially formed GAINAX, and just 3 years after that, they drop Royal Space Force. We're talking a massive, risky film with a budget that was unheard of at the time. This was more than just starting a business. It was a revolution. It was the fans kicking down the door and taking over. And this was the crew, the original dream team of otaku creators. These were the guys who made it all happen, blurring the line between being a fan and being a professional. You had these ambitious visionaries like Hiroyuki Yamaga and Yasuhiro Takeda steering the ship. And they managed to harness the wild, incredible talent of this quiet animator named Hideaki Anno. Their real strength was that they all spoke the same language, a deep, passionate love for sci-fi and anime. This was a studio built by fans, for fans, from the ground up. GAINAX was already making a name for itself, but in the mid-90s, well, they were about to unleash a creative storm that wouldn't just define them, it would reshape everything. Neon Genesis Evangelion. I mean, what else is there to say? It wasn't just another anime. It was a cultural atom bomb, directed by Hideaki Anno, and it sent shockwaves across the entire planet. This was GAINAX at the absolute peak of its power. They were on top of the world, they were invincible. But, as it so often happens, when you're at the very top, the same things that got you there can start to tear you apart. You see, the unbelievable success of Evangelion brought a whole new kind of pressure. That tight-knit group of friends and fans started to fray. And the first major crack appeared when their most famous creator decided he needed to walk his own path. This right here. This was the moment the foundation of GAINAX really started to crumble. In 2006, Hideaki Anno leaves to create his own studio, Studio Khara. And this wasn't just some business move, it was personal. The relationship with the studio's management, with those original founders, had become incredibly strained. He was taking his masterpiece, Evangelion, with him, determined to protect its integrity his own way. For GAINAX, this was a body blow they just could not recover from. After Anno left, it was like the dam broke. It wasn't just one guy leaving anymore. That massive pool of talent that GAINAX had spent 2 decades building up started to scatter to the winds, planting the seeds for a whole new generation of incredible anime studios. But here's the fascinating thing. The creative spirit of GAINAX didn't just disappear. It multiplied. This is what we call the GAINAX Diaspora. Anno founded Khara, of course. Hiroyuki Imaishi, the mad genius behind Gurren Lagann, went on to co-found Studio Trigger, known for its insane high-energy style. Each of these new studios carried a piece of that original, rebellious GAINAX DNA with them. And while the legacy of GAINAX was spreading across the industry, the original studio was slowly becoming an empty shell. And if you want a perfect snapshot of the chaos that took over in those later years, look no further than the story of Fukushima GAINAX. Seriously, try to follow this. It starts as a subsidiary, then it goes independent, then it renames itself GAINA, and here's the kicker. It starts using the GAINAX name without, according to Studio Khara, any formal permission. The original vision was totally lost. The name had just become a brand to be passed around instead of a symbol of creative rebellion. So with all the top talent gone and its own name being thrown around, what was actually left of GAINAX? Well, the studio entered this long, slow decline, marked by a series of really bad business deals and just plain mismanagement that would ultimately seal its fate. This might be the most heartbreaking part of the whole story.
This quote reveals that the studio's own history, the priceless original drawings and production materials, was being sold off, basically without permission. The passion project billed by fans was now selling its own soul. And who had to step in? Hideaki Anno and his new company, Khara. They had to buy back these precious artifacts to preserve the legacy that GAINAX itself was throwing away. The revolutionaries had forgotten what they were fighting for.
So has GAINAX really disappeared? Well, yeah, the company that filed for bankruptcy is gone. But when you watch an anime from Studio Trigger, or from Khara, or from any of the other studios born from that family tree, you're seeing its spirit. You're feeling its energy. GAINAX, the company, might be a ghost, but its echo in the industry today is louder and more vibrant than ever. And maybe, for a studio that was born from pure, raw, creative passion, that's the only legacy that really matters in the end.